Hey guys, Jason here with a word to the wise. So I made a video today and I was just going to take a couple screenshots and just kind of show some of the news clippings and things like that. And I ran across this video with Bibi talking in favor of Iran. Now my mind works outside the box. I've said that many times. You'd have to look this video up and just watch it. It's very short, very brief, and he's reaching out. Now, if there's one thing that they haven't really done in the past, anything like this that I have seen in my Christian walk, which has only been, since about 2018, I feel like I have grown in ways I just can't even fathom. I mean, I remember what brought me here in the first place was a car accident, and I was just left just in awe and shaken that I walked away without literally a scratch in this accident. Anyway, I don't want to get into that right now. What I saw somebody talking, I think it was, I don't want to say channels because I really don't like to promote channels that I don't 100% agree with. The information was great. Take the meat, leave the bones. What I didn't like is people talking about, well, I've seen that kind of build up in the last couple of days, rapture, or tribulation. People asking questions, both sides. What really kicked this off was somebody talking about October 2nd, there's going to be a full eclipse that goes over the Pacific. And they're saying that, well, could be a sign, and they try to, throw some things in there, and it's like, okay, it's reaching, it's over the Pacific, and they're like, oh, but Revelation talks about the waters, peoples, nations, and tongues, and Pacific is the largest body of water. Like, okay. So today I searched out a video just to see if Jonathan Cahn was saying anything, because he's the one that seems to always have like the numbers. Look at how everything is aligning perfectly. Like, I just want to see if he's saying something that's going to align. Now, I watched this video that he had put up today, and it was only like a couple hours old. And he was listening to him speak was probably the worst I'd ever seen him speak, because he was kind of all over the place. And in my mind, I'm thinking, like, I watched this like 8-minute video and I'm like, what did he just say? I mean, he just sang something about the calendars and the new calendar and the Day of Atonement, which is, in October is going to be all these dates. So the new year, I think, is the 3rd. And the Day of Atonement comes shortly after that. And what I was saying in the video I made this morning was just like, just keep your eye and to see if anything, big moves in any which direction, just to see if anything happens. And then I got home and I was going to put the video together, and then I see this Bibi video, and it's like he's reaching out and he's saying to the people, like, your government is bad, and it's, you people could be doing so much better if they were spending the money and time on you versus trying to constantly, make trouble, talking against Hamas. And I was just wondering, it's like, I've never heard I've never heard him speak like this. And he's pleading with the people. Is this a preemptive maneuver? And if the Day of Atonement is, let me see, I just looked it up before I started this, devoted to atoning for sins, it's considered the holiest day of the year in Judaism. Repentance during a long day of service in a synagogue. So if by chance you did something that might have gone a little over the top, you can atone and get forgiveness for, I'm guessing, almost anything, right? I mean, I don't know how much they abide by the 10 Commandments still, if that's a big thing still for them. On and on and on. So, let me just see what the last thing. So, what I noticed is they built this giant wall around Gaza. And this just got finished being built. So I'll show you these pictures. But I clicked on this article and it literally moved me down the page and showed me this portion of this article. Oh, shoot. So I clicked on it just to click on a picture, and the article moved me down to the bottom of the article. So I'm going to read it for you guys. The Barrier. Well, let me just show you the title. So the title is Middle East. Israel announces completion of underground Gaza border barrier. December 7th. I wonder what that was in 2021. Almost sounds very Hanukkah-esque. The Barrier, which is an innovative and technological advanced project, deprives Hamas of one of the capabilities it's trying to develop, Israel's defense minister Benny Gantz said, according to a defense ministry statement. Now, this is off of Reuters. It places an iron wall. It's in in quotations there. Sensors and concrete between the terror organization and the residents of Israel's south. Keep that in mind, the south. He said of the project, which beefs up an existing border fence. The ministry said the barrier, which includes hundreds of cameras, radars, and other sensors, spans 65 kilometers or 40 miles, and that 140,000 tons of iron and steel were used in its construction, which took 3.5 years to complete, or 42 months, which is an interesting number when you're looking at like the Beast has 42 months and the second Beast has 42 months, which is half of 7 years, right? So now, I just wanted to see, could I just dig into scripture for a few minutes, and I'm thinking in my head, Lord, if there's something that you could help me see, let me know. And I've said this in the past, I always like to go back to Daniel every now and again and see if anything kind of jumps off the page with current events, because if it's speaking about the abomination of desolation in the third portion of that chapter 11, well, if you start going backwards and just keep going over that and just see if anything shows you where we could possibly be or be heading to, not beheading. Don't think that comes till the future. So I'm going to start at verse 14, which I've spoken on in the past, because in those times many shall rise against the king of the south, and the violent among your own people shall lift themselves up in order to fulfill the vision, but they shall fail. The violent among your own people. Now, the violent is what they say is Hamas. So I'll show you this little Bible hub thing here. You can see that. In the King James, it says the robbers, but in every other text, it says the violent. So I will read this to you guys. And remember, God says the city to the south, And they built a wall with all sorts of cameras, sensors, radar, and technology to monitor the wall. Then the king of the north shall come and throw up siege works and take a well-fortified city. And the forces of the south shall not stand, and even his best troops, for there shall be no strength to stand, but he who comes against him do as he wills. And none shall stand before him, and he shall stand in the glorious land with destruction in his hand. He shall set his face to come with the strength of his whole kingdom, and he shall bring terms of an agreement and perform them. He shall give him the daughter of women to destroy the kingdom, but it shall not stand or be to his advantage. Afterwards he shall turn his face to the coastlands, and shall capture many of them, but a commander shall put an end to his insolence. Indeed, he shall turn his insolence back upon him. Then he shall turn his face back toward the fortress of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found. So, hopefully my reading wasn't too stuttery, but it's just interesting that right after, because that's what I made a video of back when this whole thing kicked off, and the thing with Jonathan Cahn is that he's the one that writes books and has all these, he has his own ministry, but he shows in his books, and he talks about how he was right in showing how, like the whole October 7th thing happened precisely on the day it was supposed to in God's prophetic timeline. So it was a Sabbath day. It was part of a Jubilee year in some way or another, or something like that. I showed that in an older video. I've spoken on him a few times, which is why I went back to look and see where he was at in all this. But the violent among your own people shall lift themselves up in order to fulfill the vision, but they shall fail. So are they trying to fulfill a vision? And in the King James, I think it speaks on more of a false vision. This is the English Standard Version, which I thought would be easier to read, but I've read through the King James so much and heard it so much over the years, to change it over, it's harder than I thought, thinking that the English would be much easier to read. But the king of the north shall throw up siege works and take a well fortified city, and the forces of the south shall not stand, or even his best troops. So we've seen pretty much just that, have we not? That a well fortified city, which is one thing that they don't talk much about when they speak on Gaza, is the people are walled in. And not only that, but when you go and you look on, I believe it's Wikipedia here, let me see what this is, the Gaza Strip, it backs up to the Mediterranean Sea. So it's a long slice of land, and it basically, one side of that the long slice backs up to the Mediterranean Sea. So there's a wall that walls them to the sea. And it's very well fortified with what the article had said. The iron wall has sensors in concrete, cameras, radars, and other sensors spanning 40 miles. To me, that sounds like a very well fortified city or area. Is this some part of propheticness that is happening right now? And will they come to an agreement? Because that's what they're talking about, a ceasefire, and now you have them reaching out to Iran, from that timepiece land. I don't know. Anything could happen from in a week, in this week, or, it could just be maybe they come to a peace agreement. and then that peace agreement does not stand. They already have been having a lot of fighting and skirmishing for almost, what is it, a year now? So is it coming to an end?